I got rid of social media, or I started getting rid of social media around 2021, and I guess within a year I had phased things out and deleted everything. I wanted to have no online presence. Like, I wanted to not exist online. You put my name online and nothing comes up. But I also chose to be a food systems practitioner in a rural area abroad where no matter how ideally I thought community is supposed to come together, that stuff is slow. So especially abroad, in a small town, working in agriculture, I realized over time what a meaningful source of connection putting my art online had been. The problem was that I had felt so exposed doing it, and I wanted to be able to have those same kinds of conversations with people without starting with such personal reflections with the whole wide world. I wanted them to be in person, first of all. Also, that I wanted connection that I didn't always initiate myself, like others to initiate vulnerability first too. And the thing with posting online was that you put stuff out there and you don't know who's going to end up with it. And because of how private I prefer to be, that was uncomfortable. But I'm seeing that was also the amazing part, the randomness and chance of it. And you don't know who you'll end up in conversation with. So people come in and make your world bigger. So there's this one secondhand art book that I bought in a tiny shop years ago. It's a bunch of Japanese floral print patterns. I never actually went through it, but I picked it off my shelf again recently and flipped to these strange flowers and started sketching from there. I haven't made anything in a long time. The creative depth wasn't there. Like, if I ever reached for it to make something, it was just all dried up. There were no trails of anything to start from. But I had a conversation with a close friend recently, just unpacking classic questions about why we choose the people we do, how we decide what or whom we deserve, and how slow and non-linear grief is, and all the tricks we play on ourselves in order to do anything but be with the truth of loss. And I got off that phone call and it was like the art was sitting next to me again. The imagery and concepts and starting points, all of that. So what I've been sitting with processing during this drawing is that you eventually find out your intuition was right. Sometimes the proof comes so delayed that you've forgotten all the ways you've distrusted and discounted your intuition, but the proof comes back, often through the cracks, like mirrored back at you in a conversation, or through some stranger's contradictions, or the way a paragraph looks sitting next to what you happen to be dealing with that day. It just comes at you that your gut knew what the anxiety was trying to tell you before you had language for it. And it's something terrible and amazing at the same time. Terrible because you realize you let people convince you of things you knew weren't true again. And amazing because you get back to ground zero. You could feel your own ground beneath your feet again. Facts are facts again. I kept several phrases from another conversation about processing endings and self-blame and all that crisscrossing oneself in order to make sense of a thing that just isn't ever going to quite make sense. And I'll read some of it off here. There's probably some super perfect 100% ideal way you could have handled things that would have fixed it. But in a relationship, you're not supposed to have to be 100% super optimal perfect. You're supposed to be allowed to just be human. And maybe if I had been more aggressive or played this moment that way, but that's not your job. Your job is to try. And the simplest answer is that relationships just can't survive like that. So yeah, with perfect information, unlimited redos, you could probably make it last forever and be decent. Probably some golden path you could weave through to keep the relationship alive. But I don't want a relationship like that. The path shouldn't be that narrow and specific. You should be able to have leeway on both sides and walk the path together, enough space to skirt toward the edges, but you work together to keep it aligned in the middle. So that was from that conversation. And I just find that so helpful, especially as an emotional overperformer. To imagine the failure or success of a connection doesn't ride on the fate of every single interaction. That would be exhausting if so, and I think that's why I used to find socializing so exhausting. There was just ultimate pressure to get every conversation right because I didn't know or trust the other person's ability to regulate and facilitate and to be gracious and there with me in that moment. So that's a lot of new bits for me. I'm still digesting everything.